In the quiet countryside of 1953, there was a small town where nothing unusual ever seemed to happen. Life moved slowly, and the train that stopped at the town's modest station was one of the few connections its residents had to the outside world. For farmers, it was a way to sell their crops in the city. For families, it was a bridge to relatives who lived too far away to visit otherwise. And for the station workers, it was simply part of a routine so ordinary that no one ever expected it to change. But on one evening in late autumn, that sense of predictability was shattered forever. The train arrived at the station right on time. It was a heavy, iron machine, breathing steam into the cold air as passengers boarded. Some carried suitcases. Others carried nothing at all. A few waved goodbye to loved ones, never imagining that those goodbyes would be permanent. When the conductor called for boarding to be completed, the doors closed with a metallic slam, and the train pulled away. Smoke poured from its chimney as it chugged into the distance. That train was scheduled to arrive in a city less than 3 hours away. But it never did. Somewhere between the small town and its destination, it simply vanished. No wreckage was found. No signs of a derailment. No scattered belongings or broken rails. The line stretched on exactly as it always had, silent and unbroken, as if the train had never existed at all. When the passengers failed to arrive, families assumed there had been a delay. Hours turned into days, and still there was no sign of the missing locomotive. Authorities launched one of the most extensive searches in the region's history. Dozens of officers scoured the countryside. Helicopters hovered over the forests. Search dogs were brought in to follow the scent of coal and smoke. But the trail ended abruptly at a stretch of tracks that curved into dense woodland. It was as though the train had entered the trees and simply dissolved into the night air. The incident quickly became a national mystery. Newspapers ran headlines calling it the vanishing train of 1953. Reporters arrived in droves, questioning anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual. But the testimonies they collected only deepened the strangeness. One farmer swore he heard the whistle of a train passing long after midnight on the night of the disappearance. Another claimed he saw a faint light moving across the horizon where no train was scheduled to run. A child told reporters that she saw glowing windows sliding silently across the fields outside her home, though her parents dismissed it as a dream. For weeks, speculation ran wild. Some blamed the weather, though there had been no storm strong enough to cause such a disaster without leaving evidence. Others whispered that the train had fallen into a hidden ravine, though no such landscape feature existed along the tracks. And then there were the more unsettling theories. Those who believed the train had crossed into another realm entirely. The railway company, desperate to maintain its reputation, quickly shut down public inquiries. They argued that the train must have derailed in a location yet to be discovered, and they promised to continue the search. But as months turned into years, no answers surfaced. The official explanation faded into silence, leaving only rumors behind. And then, something even stranger began to happen. Residents of the small town started reporting eerie sounds late at night. They claimed that on certain evenings, when the moon hung low and the fog was especially thick, the whistle of a train could be heard echoing in the distance. The sound carried over the fields, long and mournful, exactly like the train that had vanished years earlier. Yet when curious locals followed the sound, they found only empty tracks glistening with dew. Some even claimed to feel the vibrations of the train beneath their feet as they stood near the old station. A low rumble in the ground, accompanied by the faint metallic screech of wheels against iron. But no train ever arrived. By the late 1960s, the story had grown into local legend. Teenagers dared each other to walk the tracks at midnight, hoping to hear the phantom whistle for themselves. A few even claimed to have seen a glowing locomotive moving silently along the rails, its windows lit but its interior empty. In every story, the train appeared for only seconds before fading back into the night, leaving behind the acrid scent of smoke. Not everyone who went searching came back. Over the decades, there were reports of hikers and thrill-seekers who disappeared near the stretch of track associated with the mystery. Their belongings were sometimes found: flashlights, cameras, even journals filled with notes about their investigation. But the people themselves were gone, just like the train. Theories continued to evolve. Some suggested that the train had been carrying something it shouldn't have, perhaps classified cargo, perhaps a person of importance, perhaps something much darker. Others believed that a rift had opened in time itself, swallowing the train whole and trapping it in another dimension. A few insisted that it was the work of the supernatural, a punishment or curse placed upon the town for reasons no one could fully explain. What gave the legend more power was the fact that the railway company quietly shut down the line in the early 1970s. They cited declining usage and maintenance costs, but locals had their doubts. Some suspected that workers had experienced the ghostly train firsthand and refused to keep the line operational. By then, the town's small station had already fallen into disrepair, its clock frozen at midnight, its windows shattered by time. Today, the tracks remain, though nature has begun to reclaim them. Rust spreads across the rails. Weeds push up between the wooden ties. The station stands abandoned, a skeleton of its former self, its benches coated in dust. But still, on certain nights, people claim to hear it, the whistle, faint but distinct, echoing across the valley. There are even recordings, though skeptics dismiss them as fabrications. In one, the sound of a whistle cuts through the silence, followed by the distant grinding of wheels. And then, just as suddenly, it fades. The recording ends with nothing but the chirping of crickets and the whisper of the wind. For those who live near the old line, the legend has become part of daily life. Some refuse to speak of it at all, fearing that acknowledging the phantom train will invite its presence. Others embrace the story, retelling it to visitors and warning them never to walk the tracks after dark. But the truth remains as elusive now as it was in 1953. What really happened to the train that vanished without a trace? Was it a tragedy hidden by powerful interests? Was it an accident lost to time? Or was it something far stranger, something that defies explanation altogether? As the years pass, the questions only multiply, but the answers never come. The only certainty is the sound that continues to haunt the valley, a whistle in the night, a memory of a journey that was never completed, a reminder that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. And so the legend endures. The disappearing train remains a ghost of iron and steam, traveling endlessly through shadows, suspended between past and present, between reality and nightmare. Somewhere out there, the passengers who boarded that night may still be waiting, forever caught in a journey with no destination.